Right. Hey, folks, if you would just raise your hand, I'll call on you. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
So I just want to hear your initial reaction to today's decision by City Council. Where do you think we go forward with any of your initiatives that you did propose? I know you obviously got the no, but there were some discussions about still doing this study. Are you confident that could happen?
Yeah, you heard from my colleagues. There is a majority on the council that still see value in the independent economic impact study, and I think that will be important to inform our project agreements moving forward. And I think as well, you heard me say there at the end, giving my colleagues managing their expectations, that I will, by ordinance, the city council can put revenue bonds to a public vote, and that is a way for the city voters to be able to weigh in formally on the city's contribution. So they will get to vote on the county's contribution in November, and there will be an opportunity. We have to determine the timeline, whether that's May or November. But for the people, assuming that ordinance passes with my council colleagues, and I hope it would, that the city voters would be able to vote on the city's contribution towards the arena. So I think those two things, certainly the independent economic impact study, as well as our efforts to give folks directly a voice on this via public vote, is important.
Mayor Jones, do you plan to take a position publicly on whether or not voters should vote yes or no on the county's referendum?
That's a good question. I have to come back to you on that. Thanks. Go ahead.
Why did you not push for the study even if there wasn't a pause today? Was that a possibility?
Say that again. No, I support a study.
Right.
Yeah, right.
You support a study. You heard from several colleagues who also said they supported the study.
Right.
So was there not an opportunity to pass the study without the pause attached to it?
Well, without the pause attached to it. Well, I mean, so again, so in my mind, the term sheet, your feedback on that, that's the test. The independent economic study is kind of your study guide, right? How do you know that the things that you're in fact asking for are appropriate? And so that independent study guide would have helped significantly with what we asked for in the term sheet. That doesn't mean that there isn't still value in that informing our approach to the project agreement. So that's why I think there was a majority of us that see value in continuing with that. Go ahead.
When could that happen?
Which part?
Way you ordered that study to go forward. You said there's a majority of you
Yeah.
still see. So
Well, that's right.
next meetings?
Well, I think at this point, we work with the city staff to make sure that that moves forward. Again, there was majority support for that, as expressed by my colleagues.
Would this be an ordinance that applies just to this, or would it be a new city policy that all bond issuance needs to go to voters?
I mean, we can look at what the right approach looks like, but I mean, there is an opportunity for city council to put this to a public vote via simple ordinance. So at the very least, we should do it in this instance, given what a momentous and public investment this would be. And again, I think lots of my colleagues talked about the importance of making sure, folks are able to weigh in. And this allows voters to weigh in twice, confirm they are comfortable with the county's $311 million contribution, as well as with the city's contribution.
Mayor, you felt very strong about the item, number 4. Many times you said we need to pause, we need to have an independent review of this. It didn't happen. How do you feel about that, and knowing that your colleagues didn't actually share your point of view on this issue?
Well, look, we're not going to agree on everything. For me personally, it was important that we do our due diligence. I think as I shared in there, I'm very concerned about the ways in which some voters have expressed their clear dissatisfaction with the way in which this process has been handled thus far, which may impact their vote in November, which is why, I said, hey, let's get the data. Let's make sure we have the public input so we can make sure that we're doing this and everybody feels comfortable so we can all move forward together. I understand my colleagues, feel differently and I feel comfortable with the term sheet. But again, we still have the opportunity to get the independent economic impact study, as well as assuming my colleagues support an ordinance for a public vote, which I certainly hope they would, voters will have the opportunity to weigh in directly.
And the fact that Mr. Fong never answered you with a yes or no, what does it tell you?
I mean, I think his answer spoke for itself, and that's why I said, this discussion is really, it was really more about more than just about the arena, right? I certainly appreciated him coming in person to articulate why he thought we should expend public funds to support the development, the financing of the arena. I firmly believe, though, again, based on the feedback, that there is still some level of discomfort with the information that has been presented. So I was surprised that there wasn't a definitive kind of yes or no on the opposition for an independent impact study, considering that would have only, I think, helped their case by corroborating their numbers if that in fact was going to be the outcome. Go ahead.
And just to clarify, is the study underway, and is there a time frame for that to be complete?
We'll be able to share that once we are able to talk with the city staff.
This is a two-part question. Curious whether either Andy Segovia or Eric Walsh have kind of cleared such an ordinance for a revenue bond election, and then also what timeline you're working on before you're hoping to get on the May 2026 ballot.
So an ordinance is possible, doesn't necessarily require city staff clearance. What was the last part?
Or have you at least talked to either the city attorney or the city manager about what your desire to have such an ordinance?
So I'm not going to, let me, I'm not going to go into those discussions in depth.
And then what timeline are you looking for?
Well, we can only have it in May or November, and so I think there'd be value in having it in May, because by then the public could have a very clear idea, right, and not such a significant amount of time between the two November elections. But I'll leave it to the city staff to help us understand what makes the most sense. I think what is most exciting, though, is that the public would be able to weigh in directly, assuming my colleagues support that ordinance.
Considering you were in the minority in this last push for when you wanted the pause and the economic study, most of the council colleagues want to go forward with these terms. It seems likely that you'd also be in the minority on this too. You used a lot of political capital. You spent a lot of time in the past couple days in doing a media blitz to not gain any votes. So are you worried about the political cost of trying to push for a bond election that you would also likely be in the minority?
Look, when you're fighting for the people and when you're working to give the people a voice, you feel good, right? And the outcome is the outcome. I think it's really important. This was really about doing two things: getting independent data and giving the people an opportunity to weigh in before their council member voted on $489 million on their behalf. So I don't feel bad about that in any way. I don't think that's a loss for me. I think, again, I made the case to folks about where I stood, why I stood there, and frankly, why I thought that was the best way, frankly, for November to be successful. So, again, this was, as mentioned by several of my colleagues, though, I respect their decision, to the extent that that decision is based on the interests of their constituents. So, we'll move forward together. Thank you so much.